Hello, dear leader. My name is Samuel Eyim, Chief Leadership Coach at the Center for Transformational Leadership in Africa, CTL Africa. And I have an important invitation for you. Why are some nations developed and thriving, while others are underdeveloped and struggling? Why are some businesses flourishing and others languishing? Why are some churches growing and others dying? These are important questions for leaders. So are you a leader? At what level are you leading? What impact are you making? What is your understanding and concept of leadership? The way you think about leadership is the way you do leadership. And as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is the cause, all others are the effect. So, at the Center for Transformational Leadership, we've created this program to help you transform your understanding of leadership. This program is going to be based on John C. Maxwell's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. As a John C. Maxwell certified coach, I'm going to walk you through these laws, and we're going to give you exercises and activities around these laws to help install a new transforming concept of leadership for you. This will change the way you do leadership completely. So I invite you to check our website and our social media pages and to register for the Leadership Mindset and Asset program. This program is on 2 levels. The first level is understanding the laws of leadership, where we are going to walk you through the laws of leadership in 3 to 5 days. And this will give you the foundations of leadership. The second level is walking the laws of leadership. Here, we take you through a 15-week journey through the laws of leadership. Every week, you will have opportunity to study one law, apply the law throughout the week, meditate upon it, do the exercises, and regroup with other like-minded people who are learning the laws of leadership, exchange ideas, and share your lessons. So do not miss this opportunity. Register now for the Leadership Mindset and Asset program. We spend a lot of time developing our professions, but we don't spend time developing ourselves. Look, as a leader, as a professional, you have to grow. You have to grow yourself. And to be able to grow yourself, you need to know yourself. A lot of us are not achieving the maximum we can achieve because we have not invested in our personal growth. So we are bringing you this special studies based on John C. Maxwell's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And we're going to just spend time with you and help you go through the principles that you need to be able to grow your person, to become a better person. Because if you become a better person, you become a better leader, you become a better father, you become a better professional. Do not miss this opportunity, as the masterclass is going to be very practical and discussional. It is going to be a limited number of people. So please register now to be part of the program.
Hello, 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 hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Leadership Platform. My name is Samuel Ayim, and I'm excited to be with you this evening. Every Saturday, we come your way with a great leader sharing a great lesson on leadership, on personal growth to help enhance your leadership journey. So, please, if you are connected either on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, kindly introduce yourself. Tell us your name and where you are connecting from so that we can announce you to the world. It is our delight to know that you are on this platform. We know this is a Saturday evening, you have so many things to do. And so when you join the leadership platform, it gives us pleasure to announce you to the whole world. We also encourage you to share the link to your friends, to your bosses, to your colleagues to join the leadership platform because this is a great platform where leaders learn. So please share with your friends and invite them to join. Like our Facebook pages and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any of our editions. So go ahead and share, introduce yourself right away. I can see Kwaku Dafor says good evening from Tema. He is here with us. And as we go along, we would introduce more people coming on. Ozochina is connected, and we thank you, Ozochina, for joining the leadership platform this evening. Right. So this evening we have a great leader. We have a good friend of mine. I got to know our speaker recently when I joined Toastmasters. And as I say, I've been speaking all my life and I joined Toastmasters to learn to, I've been talking all my life and I joined Toastmasters to learn to speak. And I met Papa Akers online, met him in person for the first time, went together with a group of Toastmasters. We went to Lome for 4 good days on the Toastmasters International Conference. And guys, if you don't know Toastmasters, this evening I'm encouraging you to check out Toastmasters. It's a great club, international club where leaders are made. So we had a good time, great sessions, great speeches, great speaking contests, amazing African demonstration of culture. It was an amazing time. And I discovered much more about Papa. And I decided to invite him to the leadership platform to share because we happen to be sharing a common passion to develop leaders and to coach leaders. And he's my senior in Toastmasters. He's a distinguished Toastmaster, which means that he's gone through the mills of Toastmasters International, done all the paths, the relevant paths, taking on several assignments. And actually, he was the first distinguished Toastmaster in Ghana. He has a track record of successfully facilitating high-level strategy and team building exercises. And Papa is an expert in leadership and communication. He trains in leadership, in communication, public speaking, coaching, workshops, and facilitations. And he's done this for several years. As a public speaking coach, Papa specializes in helping individuals and teams, and he's been helping me even to improve my communication and develop influence and skills. So this evening, it is my great pleasure to welcome Papa to the leadership platform, and I'm going to ask him to tell us something that we don't know about him that I haven't said already. Papa, you are welcome to the leadership platform. This is the Center for Transformational Leadership, and we are happy to have you. Tell us one thing about you that we don't know.
Thank you very much, Samuel. I don't think I'm going to say something you don't know. I'm just going to redefine what you've already said. So,
Good.
you said I'm a Toastmaster, and for most people, Toastmaster means that you can speak well in public and you're learning to lead. But I see Toastmasters as an opportunity to be a jack of all trades. So for those who are cartoon fans here, or those who like Marvel comics, you know, there's a character called the Flash. Now the Flash is fast. That's a superpower. But with that speed, when he applies the right science, he can do so many different things, include even, you know, channel lightning bolt. So for me, my ability as a Toastmaster makes me a musician, makes me a poet, makes me a rapper, makes me a writer, you know, just because I'm a Toastmaster. So maybe that's the one thing that people don't know, applying that skill into different many facets.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And that is why we have Papa on this platform. And he's going to share with us this evening the 7 layers of leadership. And you guys know on this platform, our focus is leadership. And it is said that there are over 5,000 definitions of leadership. So you never stop learning leadership because you cannot understand the human being fully. Leadership is about the people. So Papa is going to share with us this evening an aspect of leadership. If there's something he says that you've learned already, then it means it is important, because the repetition is the mother of learning. So if there is something new, please share what you are learning as we go along, and with time we will come back and share your comments and questions. Don't go away, because Papa is going to be with us for 40 minutes. And after that is going to be questions and answers, and he has a lot more to share during that session. So stay to the end. Thank you so much, Papa. Now, the platform is yours. Take us
Thank you
away.
very much. Thank you very much, Sam. I really appreciate that. And like Sam said, I really hope that you learned something new. But even if you don't, remember the repetition is the mother of integration. That's what Robin Sharma likes to say. I don't know if my slides are visible now, but if they're not, if you could help me make them visible so the audience can see. Awesome. What I'm going to share today is actually tip 1 of this book that I'm going to be releasing very soon. And the title of the book is The Never-Ending Journey to Leadership Fulfillment, 30 Tips to Wake Up the Great Leader in You. And in my entire journey in leadership, and I remember how humbling it was when I met John Maxwell a few years ago when he came to Ghana, and I'd like to share the story with you. It's actually a very interesting story, but I'll do that later if I do have time. And it's interesting that this leadership journey never ends. You keep learning, like Sam said, you keep growing, you keep picking up, you get experiencing, and there's nothing like a living leadership as opposed to just reading about it. And so I put all this experience into a book. It's a very small book, because a lot of people don't like to read, even though every leader should be a reader. And so I put it into this really small book, and I created 30 tips. And this is tip 1 that I'm going to share with you today. And it talks about the fact that you should use these 7 layers of leadership to be your map, or to be your guiding compass as you go on this journey, this never-ending journey of leadership. So this is tip 1. Let me go through tip 1 real quick. All right, now I'm using layers to represent like an onion, right? And so with onions, what happens? The more you peel, the more you get to the good stuff. But as you peel, you start to cry. It starts to make you weep. So it's okay to cry. It's okay for it to be a bit more painful. It's okay for it to be a bit more harsh, because that's where you find the true fulfillment. And with that onion, you can make that great stew that everybody can enjoy. And it's the same with leadership. As we go through these layers, they become more difficult, they become more painful, but they also become more fulfilling. They become more amazing, and they become more exciting, and you see the fruits of your labor, right? So take this journey with me, and let's explore what leadership is all about. So the first layer, which is very important, is self-leadership. And I'm sure you've heard this from other speakers on here about the importance of self-leadership. Self-leadership. You first must lead yourself before you start thinking about leading other people. And self-leadership is about understanding oneself. It's about taking time to know oneself. It's about following the crumbs to get to know who you are. And I think Socrates says it best when he says you should know yourself. Take time to know yourself, because that is where true wisdom starts. And it is only when you start to be disciplined, when you start to teach yourself, when you start to lead yourself, when you start to take time to date yourself, that you can start living the life that allows you to or living the discipline that allows you to lead others. And so the first fundamental one is leading yourself. You need to start with a journey of self-discovery, a vision for your life, and an intentional commitment to stand for an ideal that you're willing to model yourself through. It's very important. Now, in the chat group, I'd like you to share if you have a vision for your life, if you think you know yourself, if you think you've been dating yourself, or if you're still a bit behind in that journey, and that's okay. But I want to get a general sense of our audience that are out there. So if you feel that you don't know yourself, please put it out there. If you feel like you already know yourself, please share with us what it is that you think happened and how it changed your life. For me, the reason that Toastmasters is so important is because I believe when I joined Toastmasters, and I was in South Korea at that time, and the first project that they ask you to do in Toastmasters is they ask you to do your icebreaker. And when I was doing my icebreaker, what happened is in putting the speech, the project together, I had to confront myself. I had to critically look within myself. And I said, wow, that was the moment that I started to see myself with clarity. And so there was a huge shift. I had been somebody who only was driven by the things that excite me, by the things that I had interest in. And I used to get bored with things very quickly. So a lot of times I would start programs and I would stop. When I tell people this, they get surprised. I would drop out of school. I dropped out of school, I think, twice, before I went to do my master's in Korea. So a lot of things used to bore me. But that shift allowed me to start looking at the world differently. Not as an individual who was self-serving, but as somebody who had a destiny, somebody who had work, somebody who had a purpose for which he was built. And so that self-leadership, that discovery, that taking time to train, to know yourself, that understanding of oneself is very, very, very important. And it's impossible to lead people to places where you've not been, or places that you've not seen. You should be able to perceive it. And it comes from self-understanding, right? And this is also part of emotional intelligence, but we're not going to talk about that here. So the first layer of these 7 layers is get to know yourself, and get to know yourself very well. That's very important. Now, after self-leadership, when you started building the discipline of knowing yourself, when you started unraveling that layer, when you're a lot more disciplined and a lot more directed and very clear about what you want out of life, or what your purpose is and what it is that you need to do, the next thing you do is you feel this hunger, because there's so much you've learned about yourself. You're validated, you're more aware of the pearls that you have, and you feel this hunger to give of yourself. And this is what we call the second layer. The second layer is service. You need to serve. Now, some of you may say, well, that is servant leadership. That's what a lot of people call it. But the truth is, you cannot really lead without serving. And I'm not specifically talking about just servant leadership. I'm talking about the fact that, and I think Mr. Ayim said it earlier. He said, leadership is a people business. And for you to be able to lead people, you need to be able to give them value. And for you to give them value, you need to serve them. So even when you're running on a title, even when you're sitting all high and mighty, even when you're not necessarily on the ground in the dust, your commitment to make the right decisions that protect people, that give them governance, that direct them, that make their lives better, is service. And the truth is, you cannot truly lead if you do not know how to serve. So service, and this is an excerpt from the book, service is core to leadership at a fundamental level. If you cannot serve, you cannot lead. You may enjoy the leadership position, but you cannot truly lead. Service is an understanding that to gain value, you must first give value. It is a decision to value people and to take care of them. It is about sacrificing so others may gain, and about understanding that it is not about you, but about the people that are in your care. And if you have any other suggestions or you have any other opinions around service, please, I'd like to hear them, or I'd like to see them on the chat, please. So please share. But it's very important to understand that you cannot move into the next 5 layers if you have not learned how to serve. So the first one is what? Learn to lead yourself. And to lead yourself, you need to learn to take care of yourself, which is something that is very important. The second one is what? Learn to serve. So you peel that second layer and it's service. Serve, 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 which is why some of the greatest leaders were people that were volunteers, were people that signed up, were people that took time to commit themselves to an ideal or to something that went beyond themselves. It is very important. All right. So even if you see yourself as a business leader, as a CEO, you know, with all the fancy titles and everything, you still have to have a mindset to give value, which is a form of service. You're serving the people that work for you. Yes, you may be the big boss, but if you want to get value, if you want to be able to connect with them, if you want to be able to get things done, you need to be able to serve them. It's very important. All right. Let's move to the next layer, which is influence. And I think Dr. Robert Cialdini does an amazing, brilliant job talking about the 6 principles of influence: consistency, likability, authority, reciprocity, social proof, and scarcity. But I'm not going to use that here. I'll recommend the book for you, Dr. Robert Cialdini, Persuasion or Influence. Go look for the book. And it's based on 30 years of research. I'm just going to say this about influence. Influence is crucial for leadership. And I think John Maxwell is the one that says it best. He says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And if you can't influence, you can't lead. All right. Now, to influence, you need to understand that influence is what? Is a powerful tool in the leader's arsenal. You can't lead if you can't influence. You need to understand what influence is and how to build it. And at a fundamental level, it is about ethos, pathos, and logos and giving value. What is ethos? Ethos is appeal to credibility. What is pathos? Pathos is appeal to emotion. What is logos? Logos is appeal to logic. And so when people see the results that you've gained by being the model that they must follow, logically, they are now influenced by you. When people feel that you care and you connect to them through emotions, pathos is kicked in and they are more likely to be influenced by you. And when people find you credible because you live what you say and you have integrity, they are more likely to follow you. I told you that my discovery came when I did my icebreaker in Toastmasters. Toastmasters is this organization someone told you about, and it's a brilliant organization. I think it's something that most of us should consider joining. And the reason I like Toastmasters is because it gives you a practical space to try out these things. A lot of people think about Toastmasters and they think about public speaking. But for me, the goal was more in the leadership. So when I went through the self-discovery phase, I was so excited. And I don't know if you've ever had a toy or you've ever discovered something or you've ever watched a movie where you were so excited you absolutely have to share it with somebody. And that excitement of leadership that I found in Toastmasters when I discovered myself through my icebreaker and this platform in place where people cared about me, gave me feedback, gave me support, and I felt myself grow, was so exciting that I wanted to give back because I felt a certain huge surge of gratitude and a certain sense of debt to society. And so what did I do? I started serving. I started serving by playing the role of vice president membership, which is one of the executive roles in the Toastmasters meeting. I became president, and I made up my mind that I'm going to learn as much as I can before I come back to my motherland, Ghana, because I want to be at a position where I could give value. Now, Mr. Sam did say earlier that I was the first distinguished Toastmaster in Ghana. What that meant was there was a point where everybody in Toastmasters in Ghana pretty much was looking up to me as a mentor, and that gave me room to serve. So I was literally going to club meetings every day, and there was the same in Korea as well. I was getting to meet people, I was mentoring people, I was giving people feedback, and I was consistently pouring myself out. And that allowed me, because of that value I was given, to start building influence. So over time, I became like a household name because then people started getting influence from me because, one, I liked to apply the things that I was learning to my everyday life, to my work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at that time when I was working there, to my training when I was training with GIMPA and a number of other places, right? So that ethos kicked in. I also cared enough about people to give them that support. And so pathos kicked in, right? And with people, when people started seeing that they were growing, logos kicked in because it became logical, right? There's something, and I believe I picked it up from John Maxwell, that I'll share with you, that every follower is asking before they decide that they're going to follow you. And this is where influence begins. They're asking this question: can I trust you? And trust usually starts from your engagement with integrity. I'll recommend this book that I think you should all read, Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. Very brilliant book. So people are asking, can I trust you before they start being influenced by you and start following you? The second thing is, do you care about me? And this is where pathos comes in. Your ability to show them that you care about their well-being. And the first way to show people you care about them is to help them figure out who they are. That's the best way you can help people, to help them figure out who they are. And then the last one is what? Can you take me where I need to go? And that's why a leader is a reader. A leader needs to be competent. They may love you, they may respect you, but if you can't take them where they need to go, eventually they will drop you. And this is something I would like to say to a lot of parents. You know, sometimes parents are so busy taking care of their kids, caring about their kids, that they forget that as part of nurturing the kid, you need to grow yourself as well. And that's why personal development is very important. Because as you grow, you gain the ability to take them where they need to go. So as you grow in your leadership as a parent, you're better positioned to lead your children to become leaders themselves. Okay? So that is the next layer, which is influence. So the first layer is self-leadership. The second layer is making sure that you serve or service. And the third layer is influence. Remember, we said that repetition is the mother of integration. And I want you to be integrated with these layers by the time that I'm done. So I'm going to continue to hit on them and repeat them so that it sinks into your psyche. So influence is about growth and the fundamental belief that you are walking a path that those you may influence see as valuable. And the value that I started giving from my growth in Toastmasters and the value that I started giving through service to the people that I was leading allowed me to build influence because of the value I was giving them. And this influence has helped me with all the organizations and companies that I coach, that I consult for, that I engage, right? And so we'll carry you everywhere. So what is the next layer? Well, the fourth layer is dynamism. And very interestingly, this is a layer I actually came across, or I came into understanding much later in my Toastmasters journey. You see, the Toastmasters program had an old system that we used to have, and that's what I went through, which was a very good system. But recently, they started with a new system that some of us are still struggling with, in the sense of some of the ideals that we thought worked in the old program. And I remember that before I could argue about the things I like or not like, I decided I'm going to jump in 2 feet into the water, drown if I have to, and figure it out. So I've pretty much gone through the new program throughout the entire program, right? And there's this part of the program that gives you a tool that allows you to determine your leadership style. And around that same time, I also came across this tool on the internet. Now they charge for it. It used to be free, called the 360cc, which allows you to, it's a survey tool that allows you to figure out your brand. And so I sent it around to about 40 people. And basically what they do is they do an assessment and tell you what they think about you. And there was something that was very glaring about me. Everybody knew that I was vision driven. Everybody knew that I was impactful. I was driven. The problem is, I was so driven that sometimes I was more like a bulldozer. So I did not take as much time to figure out that we're all coming from different places and we all have different levels. And so some people felt that I was sometimes insensitive, right? And it comes back to reinforcing the importance of understanding that leadership is a people business, and you need to understand people. So the feedback, everybody tick, visionary, tick, competent, tick, driven, tick, impactful. But you could now see people saying, Papa needs to realize that we're all not like him. Papa needs to understand that we all think differently. Papa needs to understand that, different dynamics require a different approach. And I remember the first time I did the assessment, I was straight up, very, very clearly visionary leader. And I went through a lot of introspection and reflection, and gradually, I think I've done the assessment about 15 times, and now it's more subtle across the board. Now, there are those who say, Papa, you become softer, right? But I think I've become a lot more circumspect and a lot more appreciative of the different people that I connect with. And so the layer of dynamism basically lets you understand that even though you may have a default style in your leadership, different people respond to different styles. And so, for example, if I asked anybody here, because a lot of times this is not very popular these days. If you ask anybody here, are you a bureaucratic leader? Everybody's quick to say, no, I'm not. No, I'm not, because nobody wants to be tagged bureaucratic. But bureaucracy has its benefits. For example, if you are in a position where leadership requires you to, there's not enough time, or leadership requires you to make decisions very quickly, or you're dealing with people that do not have the experience, sometimes you may need to be bureaucratic and tell them, do what I say you should do. There are times when you need to be innovative. There are times when you're dealing with people that you need to be a pace setter. There are times when you have to be affiliative because morale is low and you put the people first. So all these different situations require a different approach. And as such, you need to learn the different leadership styles so you become a dynamic leader. And that's the fourth leader. You need to become a dynamic leader that can apply the leadership to all. So dynamism is about understanding that there are different leadership styles. Though you may have a default style shaped by your innate self and the environment you grew up in, each style has its pros and cons in any given situation, right? So dynamism is about what? Understanding how to adopt and apply the best leadership styles for the best results. And that's what being a dynamic leader is all about. And this project allowed me to learn that there are different ways of leading and made me become a much more rounded leader. So self-leadership, first layer, service, second layer, third layer is influence, and the fourth layer is dynamism. Great. Now let's move on to the next layer, because I'm very excited and I want to hear your questions, so I don't want to spend too much time on the presentation. Alrighty. So the next layer is foresight. And here's the interesting thing. I don't know if you have any tech people here, but when you deal with data, right? A lot of data allows for tech systems or for systems. And I don't know if I told you this, but actually my background is in technology back when I used to work at the foreign ministry. And so data, the more data you have and the more you're able to analyze that data, the more predictive analysis that you have. And so very soon that prediction makes it seem like you're making prophecy because you have data. It's the same with leadership. When you go through these first four layers, you get to the fifth layer, the layer of foresight. And this is where you say certain things and people say you're prophesying, right? But what it is you've grown in experience so much and you've seen so many different combinations of things that happen that you can predict to a certain level of clarity what is going to happen. And so sometimes you cry because you see what is coming. This is also a very lonely place because this is conversation. You start having conversations you cannot have with everybody because people are going to look at you sometimes like you're crazy. What are you talking about? What are you saying? No, we're not ready for that. You see, so sometimes you need to keep it to yourself because it may be too new or too staggering for you to share with the everyday people. And sometimes you need to keep it to yourself and influence in ways that can get people to get around them. The other issue is when your influence is strong enough and people buy into your leadership and they trust you, sometimes they will follow you just because they buy into your leadership. And that is something that you need at this stage, because at that point they say, I don't know where you're taking me. I don't understand what you're saying, but I will believe you and buy into your leadership and lead us. And sometimes this has happened in certain places that I've worked where people have followed me just because they buy into my leadership. But then I always keep in mind that I need that aha moment where they say, oh, makes sense. This is what you were trying to show us. Awesome. And that is what the gift of foresight is. And that is the fifth layer. Vision is crucial in leadership, and you must have the foresight to lead people to where they need to go. And you need to lead people to where you can see. Okay? And this happened when I became DTM. When I'd been through the program, when I'd gone through the program over and over again, when I'd been to different places, different clubs, and I said in different roles, and I'd had different mentors, it was easy for me to look at a club and say, guys, this is what's going to happen if you don't do this. And that was because I had gained that foresight, due to that experience in Toastmasters, right? So it's important that you can lead people where you can see. Foresight is sometimes guided by experience. Your ability to intentionally master the first four dimensions will better equip you to assess what is to come, where you need to go, or what is possible. And applying this insight and wisdom to see the big picture and navigate unseen trials is critical. The more grounded you are in this dimension, the better prepared you are for what is not apparent. And this is key before we go into the 6th and 7th. Visionary leadership is very key. And that's the 5th layer. Let's quickly progress. The 6th layer, ladies and gentlemen, which is crucial. Up to this point, you're building your leadership, you're doing a great job, you're influencing, you're making an impact. But that impact is going to quickly reverse if you do not get to the 6th layer, which is crucial. And it is crucial for a leader to understand that your job is not to create followers. You will create them automatically by your influence. Your job is to create other leaders, to develop other leaders. The only way to build a sustainable leadership culture is to create other leaders, not just followers. You need to multiply yourself in the people that you lead. You need to shape them. You need to encourage them. You need to push them. You need to test them. It is not enough to just empty yourself, to pour out yourself, but you must be ensuring that you are enabling them, pushing them so they don't get complacent, and get them to move beyond their comfort zone by modeling exemplary leadership behaviors they can follow. This is crucial. Now, one other thing I want to quickly say about multiplication is you need to be careful that you do not create copies of yourself. Do not be so arrogant. Do not be so complacent. Do not be so narcissistic that you believe that because you've come this far, because you're good and because you're getting results as a leader, others have to be copycats of you. You see, one of the things about leadership is you need to consistently resist the I have arrived mentality. And you need to consistently have the heart of humility and the heart of a student. That reminds you that you do not know it all and you have not seen it all. And the world that is coming in the future is one that you may not even have fathomed or have the skills or the tools to even face. So yours is to guide the future leaders to make sure that they understand the fundamentals of leadership and they can lead their way, because they may be much, much, much more equipped to lead than you could ever dream. So do not let them become copies of you, because they may not be able to survive that which is coming, because you do not even understand and are not ready and are not even equipped for that which is coming. You just want to nurture them so they find their way, so that they find their God-given talents, so that they tap into that amazing and greatness that God has put within them, so that when they now lead, they can be 10 times better than you. Then your work is done. Your job is to make sure that they are greater than you, not just like you, not as good as you, but better, 10 times better, 20 times better. That is how the world progresses. If we want to see the world get better, we need to create leaders, or we need to inspire leaders, or we need to stoke the fire in leaders who will be much, much, much better than we are. Alrighty, that brings me to the 7th layer. I've peeled it all. We're now in the middle. Your eyes are weeping. You're ready to make that good stew. The onions are browning. Let's get into generational leadership. And this is what it's all about. And I'm going to read this. This is all in the book that I'm going to be releasing, and this is all part of tip 1. So if your vision does not surpass your lifetime, you are not planning for sustainability, and your leadership will not stand the test of time. Generational leadership requires an intentional approach to building leadership that lasts across multiple generations. It requires a clear, scalable vision, an intention to model and develop a sustainable leadership culture, values that transcend your lifetime, and leaders that not only model after you, but bring out the best versions of themselves in connection to what you have started. It requires ownership of the vision across generations. This dimension is the most important because it has the most impact. It is also the most difficult to master because it requires all the first 6. And your success cannot be validated in your lifetime. So if you're somebody who revels in getting credit for what they do, you're going to be sad, because you may not even be identified as a good leader till you're dead and gone. And maybe your name may not even come up, but your impact will be felt 100 years from now, right? And this is what we say, I call it the Moses syndrome. You need to be able to walk up to the mountain and see the promised land, even though you may never get there, okay? You need to be comfortable to plant the seed of a tree that you will never sit under, but revel in the knowledge that it will give shade to many, okay? You You must be consistent and clear and trust that tomorrow will embrace that vision. It requires a whole new level of enlightenment and should be the ultimate dimension we'll all aspire to. I remember I picked up a phone and called a friend of mine, Dana Kaliobio, and I called another friend, Nakai Tego, one Sunday, and I said, ladies, I think it's time for us to start building the next generation of Toastmasters. And so we started with Dana Kaliobio's children. Nakai joined. She brought her nieces and nieces as well. And now we have what we call the Gavaliers. The Gavaliers are young Toastmasters, some under 15, some under 17. And the amazing thing is they have a lot more passion than we, the older ones. And they are rather reinvigorating their parents to be more serious about the Toastmasters. And it gives me comfort to know that when we're dead and gone, these young leaders are going to be doing extremely beautiful things. I remember we have this awards that we give to the Toastmaster of the Year, and this year we decided that, you know, we used to do them separately, the Toastmaster of the Year, the Gavalier of the Year. We said, no, it's time for us to get the Gavaliers to get their hands wet and to sit on panels with the grown-ups so they can learn to think like them, because they are going to have to be equipped to do much better, right? So you need to be intentional about getting and thinking beyond your generation. And for me, my headache right now is, how do I create a vision? How do I put in tools? How do I put in triggers that will ensure that these Gavaliers' grandchildren and their great-grandchildren can survive? It's very important. So, ladies and gentlemen who are listening, these have been the 7 layers of leadership. First, you start with the self-leadership. Then you move into service. Then you embrace your ability to influence. Then you learn the skill of dynamic leadership by adopting all these different styles of leadership. You will gain foresight, learn to use it, learn to think, learn to progress. Then you start to multiply yourself by creating other leaders like yourself. And eventually, the most important thing, generational thinking, legacy thinking, the dawn of a new era. Now, there are a number of us who sit back and say, will Ghana change? Will Africa be better? Africa is broken, and all these stories. If you think generationally, you will stop losing hope. There's a word I coined called optimistization, which basically means the ability to sow hope or optimism into people. I believe that leaders must be optimistizers. Leaders must learn how to be generational in their thinking and start putting in tools that may not work today, and that's okay. But know and believe and revel in the possibility of tomorrow. Because if not our children, if not our children's children, if not our children's children's children, at least our children's 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 grandchildren will figure it out. Thank you so much. And I'm so excited and ready to take questions, comments, so that we can all get better. Thank you. Over to you, Sam.
Hello, dear leader. My name is Samuel Eyim, Chief Leadership Coach at the Center for Transformational Leadership in Africa, CTL Africa. And I have an important invitation for you. Why are some nations developed and thriving, while others are underdeveloped and struggling? Why are some businesses flourishing and others languishing? Why are some churches growing and others dying? These are important questions for leaders. So are you a leader? At what level are you leading? What impact are you making? What is your understanding and concept of leadership? The way you think about leadership is the way you do leadership. And as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is the cause, all others are the effect. So, at the Center for Transformational Leadership, we've created this program to help you transform your understanding of leadership. This program is going to be based on John C. Maxwell's book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. As a John C. Maxwell certified coach, I'm going to walk you through these laws, and we're going to give you exercises and activities around these laws to help install a new transforming concept of leadership for you. This will change the way you do leadership completely. So I invite you to check our website and our social media pages and to register for the Leadership Mindset and Heart program. This program is on 2 levels. The first level is understanding the laws of leadership, where we are going to walk you through the laws of leadership in 3 to 5 days. And this will give you the foundations of leadership. The second level is walking the laws of leadership. Here, we take you through a 15-week journey through the laws of leadership. Every week, you will have opportunity to study one law, apply the law throughout the week, meditate upon it, do the exercises, and regroup with other like-minded people who are learning the laws of leadership, exchange ideas, and share your lessons. So do not miss this opportunity. Register now for the Leadership Mindset and Heart program.
Wow. Thank you so much, Papa, for that powerful presentation. I can see from the chats lots of people saying great presentation, powerful presentation, and so on. So I know that this is really rich home. Thank you so much. Papa has given us the 7 layers of leadership. You will see that every leader that comes on the platform gives us a dimension, different dimension of something that you thought you know. And today I was taking so much notes of things that I thought I knew, but I was seeing different aspects of the same subject. Self-leadership, the first layer. Then service, very important. Influence, great. You need to move from there to dynamic leadership. Then foresight, absolutely important. Then talk about multiplication and generational leadership. These are truly great nuggets. And I see so many people already on the line. Papa, let me see who is in the house, and then I'll go through and see if there are questions for you. All right, so many people here today. Kweku Donko is here. We've seen Patience Antonio is here. Douglas Amwate is here. I'm seeing Sian Apia. I'm seeing my glasses are not seeing well either. Sawadogo is here. Portia Amonu is here. All right. And I'm seeing Swida Ghana. Okay, this is you're not giving your name. Dennis Ahe is here from Sakumono. Teresa Asare Kuma is here. Good evening, everyone. I see Richard Wampong is here. Please, how do I discover myself? And that's the first question coming to you, Papa. How do I discover myself? Good evening, and thank you for coming our way every Saturday. So that's the first question. Maybe you know that. We'll add a few more, then you can come and address them. I want to change my profession. I have done a master's program hoping to help me change my profession or job, but I think I'm behind with that desire. Well, this is a fleshy me. That's your name. Okay. I don't know what Papa will say about that. Somebody who thinks he has to change his profession. We don't have enough information. Her Ladyship, Cynthia Martinson is here. Thank you, Her Ladyship, for being here. Kweku Darfor is here. Serve with integrity and willingness. Yusuf Abdul Hamid, connecting from Monrovia. Thank you, Yusuf, for connecting. Abedonko says, thank you, CTL team. Henry Amwate says, powerful. Really enjoying this session. All right. Livingston Zeto says, greetings, everyone. And Rotarian Pinto, good evening, joining you live from Cape Coast. Thank you, Rotarian Pinto, for joining. And he says, solid presentation, immediate president, Papa. Papa, you are immediate president. I don't know of Ghana or of Africa.
of Rotary, of one of the Rotary clubs.
Of Rotary clubs. All right. So,
I'm a past president.
secure. All right. Ni Sandoff Sai says, great peace, Papa. Now Latile says, good evening. And Salma says, well said, Papa. I'm not seeing questions here, too. There's only 2 comments that you may need comment on. Abedonko says, great presentation. And Livingston Zeto says, very intriguing presentation. Thank you so much. Somebody is giving you plenty stars, Albert Lenny. Lamte Anthony says, great and inspiring. Thank you so much. And Rotarian Pinto comes again to say, solid presentation, charter president of Rotary Club. Somebody is campaigning for you already. Abedonko says, how can I build consistent values for growth in team leadership? So this is about the second question. How can I build consistent value for growth? All right. Good. I guess I would let Papa comment on those, and then I'll come back to see if there are more. So,
all right.
Papa,
I'm going to combine 3 questions or comments that I thought I heard. One of them was trying to figure out how to find themselves. And there's a lady I'm actually going to recommend to you, Sam, if you can get her on your program in the future. Her name is Mami Serwa, and she runs a program called Finding the Person Called Me. And it's committed to taking you through the process of finding you. I think it's very important that she runs one of her workshops on your platforms. So I'm going to recommend her. She's one of the members of my platform, my women platform that I run called Mehima, which has close to 280. It actually has more than 280 women on it, professional women on it. So she's one of the ladies there. She runs this program, which I think you need to recommend her for. Now, what I would say quickly, just so I don't leave this great person just hanging before Mami said what comes into play, is it's important for you to find your purpose and talents and skills. Now you're asking, how do you do that? I would say the first thing is pray about it, because you'll be amazed the sort of insight you get when you seek understanding through prayer. But you may be an atheist. Maybe you don't believe in prayer. In that case, I would say find time to date yourself. Dating yourself is a process of figuring out who you are by putting yourself out to the world. There are a lot of people who call themselves homebodies, do not network, do not connect, do not try new things, and expect that all of a sudden one day, for some lady, some man will come and marry him, or for some man, he'll find some beautiful lady, get married, make children, and that's what life is about. And a lot of times, this discovery starts happening when they are actually in that union. And sometimes that's why it becomes unpleasant, because they don't know anything about themselves. They don't know how they're going to respond in any particular given situation. They don't know how they respond to any type of challenge. So the first thing you need to do is put yourself out there. Go out, network, try new things, right? Now, these are the things that you're looking for. There's something called your assignment, which is basically a problem that you've been uniquely placed into this world to solve. Usually that assignment is a trigger or indicator to figuring out who you are. It could be maybe when you see children on the streets and everybody else sees it as normal, you get angry and crazy about it and take it World Cup. It could be you always get angry about solving hunger problems. It could be you want to see beauty so bad that when anybody does anything that is not beautiful, you get mad. But usually those assignments are triggers to what you should be solving. The second one is talents. You usually, and God in his wisdom gives you gifts that equip you for this journey you're supposed to take. And so when you start discovering the things that you're naturally good at, they generally are indicators of figuring out your purpose. But the talents, and sometimes we get complacent and think, oh, I'm good at this, so it's fine. No, that's a big mistake. Talents are merely the raw material. They need to be converted into product, into skills. And those skills need to have time and endurance and hard work to convert them into mastery. Mastery is really what matters. Everything else is second rate. So talent will get you noticed. Skills will get you doors and get you promoted. Well, skills will get you to the door. Expertise will get you promoted. And mastery will get you to a position of consultant. Will get you consulted, right? And we all want to eventually get to that point where we are consulting, because that's where the real leadership happens, okay? So for me, the first thing is pray about it if you can. After praying about it, go out into the world and discover yourself. Find the things that give you pain. Find the things that give you joy. Find the things that you're passionate about. Now, here's the difference between what gives you joy and what you're passionate about, okay? What you're passionate about or what fulfills you usually does not require a happy trigger, okay? So you may not be in a good mood, but that thing just quickly gets you moving, and you move even though you don't have a smile on your face. That's very different from things that excite you, okay? Excitement is good, but it can be fickle. But fulfillment is long-term. It takes you through the toughest times. It takes you through the most enduring moments. And most businesses that are successful, that are long-lasting, are businesses that are built on passion and fulfillment and purpose, okay? So that answers that question, I hope. And when you bring Mami Sewa on board, she can give a lot more details and practical insights on how to do the nitty-gritties of setting your vision and finding your stars and putting together your 20-year plan and all that. The next thing is, somebody asked, he said, how do I build consistent value for growth? Who are you giving value to? First and foremost, value to yourself is that which allows you to grow. But value to the world, value to impact, value to the people who are going to be your customers. To know what somebody values is to understand that person. That's why we say leadership is a people business. I cannot assume that just because something is valuable to me, it will be valuable to Mr. Iyim. I need to actually take pains to know him and know what he needs. And that's why it is sad when a lot of people get frustrated because they have a product they are putting out and nobody's buying and say the people are not refined. No, you never took time to get to know the people. You need to be humble enough to understand and take time to know people and know what they value to be able to give them value. And that is why a lot of times when we have NGOs and nonprofits and sometimes people coming from outside and going into villages and rural communities, we sometimes fail because instead of taking time to get to know what the requirements are and the needs are and what they consider value, we prescribe what we think is necessary. And that's why I'm very excited. Currently, I'm a board member for an organization called Core Africa. And this is what they use. They use what we call human-centered design and asset-based community design to development, to go into communities and figure out what it is that they need so they can give them value. So to your answer, learn, figure out, interrogate, integrate, connect with the world, find out what is needed, see where you interface, and then give them value. Now, you cannot give what you do not have. So obviously, just because you know what they need doesn't mean you're equipped to give them value. You need to now grow yourself by learning, by pushing yourself, by exploring, by improving on those talents and skills that you have so that you can build the mastery that gives them true value. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Papa, for those answers. A few more questions coming up. Someone says, as a young person, how do I become generational leader? Is it something that is too early to consider? So you talk about generational leadership, and Sama is wondering how a young person can become a generational leader. Then I think the name is Bonchi Anyete. I hope I got it right. Is asking, is the 7 layers of leadership always possible, or has it to be abbreviated in certain visceral circumstances in our developing nations? So I want you to take those 2 questions, and then the first one, young people thinking about generational leadership, is it too early to think about it? And this 7 layers, are they always present?
Thank you very much. I like to use Jesus as an example when I think about leaders. And I would like to use his story about when he was 12 years old and he blew the minds of all those Pharisees. Now, the beautiful story about Jesus and why I like to use Jesus as an example of leadership is one thing that was very clear is that from the time Jesus was born, he knew his purpose. And so when you figure out your purpose, it's not too early for you to start doing amazing things. But even in knowing his purpose, guess what? He connected, he exposed himself to the world. He lived like the people he was going to lead for an additional, even at 12, he was brilliant beyond years, and he could have come out and done some amazing things. Today, a lot of young people, when we know we're sharp, we want to go out there and change the world because we feel we're ready. But you know, even with Jesus' brilliance at 12 years, he waited, 18 more years? 18 more years before he started his ministry. And his ministry was just 3 years, and in those 3 years, he's made more impact than anybody else. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we should not be in a rush to get to the point of generational leadership, okay? I'm also saying that when you know your purpose and you've gone through the first 6 layers, it doesn't matter what age you are. But what I'm going to encourage you to do is to walk through the layers. So first start with yourself, because the dangerous thing about leading when you've not learned to lead yourself is you start to lead followers astray. And that is a very dangerous thing. So first take time to learn to lead yourself, then take time to learn to serve, then take time to learn to influence and become influential. Otherwise, you're just somebody walking in the park as opposed to being a leader. Take time to become dynamic. Otherwise, you're going to be, should I say, a difficult leader like I used to be, being very one-sided in your leadership as opposed to being dynamic in different groups. You will learn to gain foresight. Foresight is very critical, because one thing is leaders need to know how to see around the corner. There are always going to be things coming your way. And if you do not have the gift of foresight, you're going to be falling into a lot of traps. Learn to multiply. Then you're ready to start being generational. So don't rush the process. Take your time and go through the layers. Now, if you, of course, commit yourself, and I keep using this from Malcolm Gladwell's book of Outliers, the 10,000 hour rule. Call it 20,000, call it 30,000, but put in those 10,000 hours. Now, if you decide that from today, I'm going to be spending 24 hours a day just learning how to lead, live in leadership, who knows, maybe in 3 years, you're going to be a generational leader like the world has never seen. But it's not a process you can rush. You need to actually do the homework. It's not something you can wing. You need to put in the work. The second question, now, Bonti was asking, can you abbreviate it? I'm not sure if I'm clear about that question, but I believe that in every circumstance, including the world today, including, the Africa we find ourselves, the Ghana we find ourselves, it is when we find, or when we have an explosion of generational leadership, that we're going to start seeing growth and building on what our forefathers have done. Until then, we're going to see a lot of brilliant people doing amazing things that we're going to go back and say, but we started this, but we stopped. But we started this, but we stopped. But we'll go forward and we come back. There's not going to be any real trajectory. We need to have leaders who are thinking next generation to the next generation to the next generation, so they start things that they understand that they may not finish. Recently, one of my cousins sent me an article about the happiness index that was done. And the interesting thing, this was done in Harvard. The interesting thing was that this is probably the longest study that has been done. And what is interesting about this is it spanned 4 different directors, spanned 4 different generations. And some of the people they started with are dead. It included even people like JFK way before he became president. But somehow, they were consistent. So those who started the study knew that they will not see the end, but they put things in place to ensure that those who took over from them continued and continued and continued and continued. This is the type of leadership that we need. This is what we mean by generational leadership, where you put things into place that ensures that the next generation is she. And if you look at even how God blesses people, he blesses in generations. So we were never meant to be thinking short term. We were meant to be doing and acting and serving not just this generation, but generations to follow. I hope that answers your question, Nee. And
Yes,
if it does, take it offline.
I think if that's not clear, then please come back and let's Anyete come back. All right. So all right, I'm just seeing great commendations here, and Mami Sewa that you mentioned has been commended here. Somebody says workshops are amazing. So we're going to get Mami Sewa here. Perpetua says walking through the layers. to lead yourself. Okay. Ajua Boateng Ado is asking, do you have to go through all of the layers, or you can pick some? How can you tell what is relevant in your current state? Maybe this following up on that question. And the next question is, does holding a position in the corporate world necessarily make you a leader? And this is a question we've answered several times here. So those are the two questions we want to see your perspective.
Thank you very much. The first question I would like to quickly answer is, let me ask you a series of questions. First and foremost, ask yourself, are you in a position, are you disciplined? Do you feel like you're leading yourself, or are you wayward and just figuring out life? Because if you're wayward, what kind of followers are you going to get following you, and where are you going to lead them to? In that case, you need to have self-leadership. Are you serving the people that you lead, or are you just bossing them around? And if you are you getting the results that you want? And if you're not, maybe you need to consider looking at the service layer. Do you have influence, or do you feel that you're just walking in the park, and that the only reason that people follow you is because you have some title and have some position and are holding them? And by the way, to answer the next question, yes, all a positional leader does is it gives you the ability to get people to do what they must do. What they must do. They will do the barest minimum. And you should read John Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership. You'll understand, right? You need influence, but if your influence comes from just your title and your position, you're in trouble. All right. Now let's come back. If you do not have influence, you're in trouble. I mean, when things get tough, you will find nobody behind you. 4, do you have just one leadership style? And you probably will do well with just that one leadership style. So if you're in a company where your leadership style works and you're getting the same type of people being hired and there's a proper system in place, you're probably going to die a legend and do amazing. But if you know anything, you realize that some of the greatest leaders were taken out and put into other places and they failed miserably. Some of the greatest legends in leadership today, we look at their systems and we see that the world is suffering for it. And that's because environments change. The world is dynamic. And because the world is dynamic, a leader must be dynamic. So if you're not going to stay in the same place with the same type of people forever, maybe you need to look at the layer of dynamism. And then the 6th one, if you're not paying attention to multiplication, then I'm sorry, but when you're gone, you're gone. There's nothing you've left behind. There's nobody else you've created. So that is also important. Now, if you decided you're going to skip generational leadership, that's fine. But I think I've shown that if you don't have the requisite skills from the other layers, then you may want to consider it before you jump into the next one. But if you can't lead yourself and you're already thinking about the next generation, I wonder what you're thinking. If you don't have the gift of foresight, I don't know how you're going to even perceive what the next generation's problems are going to be like. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. And Salma says, in the event of losing your credibility as a leader, in the event of losing your credibility as a leader, where your team no longer trusts you, what are the key steps you can take to regain your trust?
Like I said, read the book Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. I think that's a really good one. The first thing about trust is, first of all, to gain trust, you must give trust. That's very important. But then there are other behaviors that help trust. The way you speak. Do you speak straight, or you speak in circles? You know, do you have integrity? Integrity is one key way to build trust. Ethos. Are you doing things that are helping you build your ethos? For example, and one thing you have to understand about trust is a factor. It has 2 factors: 1, character, and 2, competence. Right? So, did your people lose trust because you're not competent, or did your people lose trust because you have a bad character? Whatever it is, you need to fix it. But one of the key warnings that I have to give is trust takes time to build, but it takes a second to lose. So when you lose that trust, it is not impossible to regain it, but understand that it takes time, and it's a subjective for the person you're dealing with. Some take longer to heal, some take shorter to heal. So the last thing you can do is try to rush the process. You're going to fail. If you lose trust, you need to understand that you're ready for a long, arduous journey of repairing it. Broken trust is not easy to repair. but it requires consistency, it requires time, it requires patience, it requires giving value, it requires growing, it requires giving, it requires also trusting. So that's my answer to you, Salma. What was the second one? Sorry, I missed it.
No, I think that was it.
Well, Salma was the only one that asked the question. Okay.
Yes. No. Okay. The other one you answered it. There's holding a position in a corporate make you a leader.
Yeah.
I think you've answered that.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. And Papa referred you to the 5 levels of leadership. I mean, we said it over and over again. A position alone does not make you a leader. Yes, it's the first level that gives you some authority to do things, but you have to go beyond that. Let me bring Sarah in just in case she has a comment, and then we'll be getting ready to Sarah. You've been quiet.
Yes, I've been quiet. I've been taking all in. It's very, very interesting, and from even the questions that are being posed, I'm getting deeper insight. So I just want to say, Papa, this has been really insightful, and I'm really looking forward to really connecting with you after this session and see what I can learn more from you. It's been
we're bringing you on board and make him up for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Papa. There's
I can see there are more comments coming.
Okay, Perpetua Adubia is asking if we can elaborate more on some ways we can lead ourselves. Well, Papa shared several points, but I think he will do that again. And Emmanuel Ahren is saying, can you please elaborate on the cycle of influence? Can I trust you? Do you care about me? Can I take you to where I want to go? All right. So people want a few more light on those points. Thank you.
Okay, so the first question was, I should elaborate on what again?
Elaborate on the steps that one can take to grow, on ways to lead oneself. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So there's a key difference between leadership and management, and this is not the space for it. We can talk about that later. But I'm going to use the word management here as a subset, or should I say as a different alternative to leading yourself. So you can lead yourself by managing yourself. That's the first step. How do you manage yourself? Self is made up of all the different layers that you integrate with in the world. So what are they? Your time, your energy, your health, your relationships, and so forth and so on. It goes on and on and on. So let's start with time. How well do you manage your time? Your time is that one unit that you consistently use and losing, right? And that's the one thing you're never getting back. Now, how do you manage your time? If you cannot manage your time and everybody just grabs you and you don't know how to say no, and you're consistently running behind your time like a lot of people are doing, guess what? You can't lead anybody else because you're consistently drowning. And I see a lot of people consistently drowning because they can't manage their time. And if you can't manage your time by being disciplined enough to say no when you have to say no, by being ready when you have to be ready, by understanding how much time you're committing, then that's a problem. So you need to learn how to manage your time. You need to learn how to manage your health. How can you lead others if you're consistently sick? So things like how you eat, how you engage, but not even just that. Your mind. Do not spend time in places and things that you cannot handle. I'm not going to say in toxic places, because sometimes these toxic places and toxic problems have to be solved. But there are some people much more capable and who understand that they're much more capable in dealing with them than you are. If you're not, you should know your limits. And that comes from dating yourself, right? So you should know your limits. You should test your limits. You should know where and what you can deal with when it comes to your mind. Your energy. You know, people are always saying, and I just saw somebody make a comment that, oh, Papa, you're always energetic, you're fire. But you see, I know what gives me energy. You need to know what gives you energy. When I tap into what connects to my purpose, for example, programs like this, leadership, impact, it doesn't matter whether I slept today or not. The fire just comes out. Why? Because I know what feeds my energy. I also know what drains my energy. We call it energy vampires or energy vampires. And I stay away from things like that. Things that drain my energy, that drain me, I stay away from them, because guess what? those environments are not going to do well for you, and you're not going to be at your best when you're a leader. And it goes on and on and on. But basically, everything that you interface with as a human being, you need to learn to manage it. You need to be able to wake up in the morning and say, this is how my day will go. And at the end of the day, if your day goes the way you say, this is how my day will go, you are leading your day. If you wake up in the morning and say, this is how my week will go, and you're able to achieve what it is that you said you would, then guess what? You are leading your week and you're leading yourself. Now, if you have to wake up at 5 o'clock because you need to rush from work from then, and you wake up at 5 o'clock, guess what you're doing? You're already in reactive mode, which means that the day is leading you. The requirements are leading you. The world is leading you, and you're running behind time, so you cannot be lead. So if you have to wake up at 5 o'clock, then you need to make sure you wake up at 4, so you sit back, you reflect, and decide, this is how my day will go. And that's why I have certain forums where we did this 66-day journey, where we're helping people to build their habits. Some of them were habits of reading, some of them were habits of waking up early, so that people could learn to take control of their life. They could learn to manage their life. They could learn to lead themselves and how their day goes. Okay? And sometimes that requires being able to say no. Sometimes that requires walking away from a job or quitting a job that is toxic for you. Sometimes that requires quitting on certain relationships or finding different ways to engage them, or just being upfront and speaking up. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. The next one was Sam. Sorry, help me out again.
The next one is to elaborate a bit on the circle of influence.
Yes, and he was referring to the 3 questions I asked. Okay.
Yes.
So I think I've mentioned over and over and over again that leadership is influence, and influence is about giving value. Service is about giving value. Now, how can you give me value? And this is a question I'm throwing back to you. How can you give me value if I cannot trust you? See, I remember the first time I did this program called Feed the Streets, and we went out there and we wanted to feed people. And I remember we opened the windows and we're passing food, and the people were looking at us like we're crazy. Like, what are you giving us? Why are you giving it to us? No. And I literally had to open the pack and start eating, and then they started grabbing, right? Because they did not trust us. Who are you? Why are you offering us food? What bad intention do you have, right? So you cannot give people value if they cannot trust you. And that is why it's important for you to put in steps to make sure they trust you. By showing integrity, by trusting them first, by extending trust, by not mincing your words and being clear, by not lying, by being truthful, by being open, and so forth and so on. Go read the book, Speed of Trust, and other things around trust. The second question, how can you give me value if you don't care about me? And this is why we need to be very careful. Sometimes somebody will tell you, come and let me guide you, or a mentor or something, and then you're talking to them and you're not listening. If you're not listening to the person, how can you give me value? You claim you want to help me. I'm talking to you, you're dozing off, or your mind is somewhere, or you're typing on something, and you claim you want to help me. If you don't care about me, how are you going to help me? So for you to be able to give that person value, you need to show them that you truly care. And then the final thing, if you're not competent, if you do not understand the areas that I want to go through, if you have not or do not have ideas about the things that I want to ask you that I need your guidance in, how can you help me? Which is why as a leader, you need to consistently be growing, reading, sharing, right? So that you can take me where I need to go. You need to consistently check up on me so that I know that you care. You need to consistently show integrity and do what you promised you will do so that I can trust you. And one of the biggest killers of trust is when you're not apologetic, or when you try to make excuses, or when you try to always defend yourself. If somebody has an issue, apologize, take it in good faith, and find ways to address it. And this is very difficult. But I can tell you that Toastmasters has helped me a lot, and I hope it helps other people. It's taught us how to take feedback. One of the ways to build trust is to be able to take feedback, to be able to assimilate it, to be able to think through it, and to be able to course correct. And if it's something that is not even relevant, there's a way you should learn how to engage so that you can find a peaceful way to resolve it. I hope that answers those questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Papa. This has been very, very good. And for those of you who are on the call, at the Center for Transformational Leadership, we have other programs. Our Growth Journey program, for example, is to help you to grow yourself. we're running currently, in fact, we're running 2 cohorts at a time because the 6th cohort was overflowing. So we had to break them into 2. And so the 6th cohort is on the 6th week. The 7th cohort, we started only on Thursday. We've just done the first step, and it's a lot of fire out there. You may want to join the growth journey also to help you with some of the things Papa is talking about, especially on your personal leadership, self-leadership, personal growth. The growth journey is 15-week program to help you grow yourself. And we have other programs like the Laws of Leadership, which is also running currently. So check the CTL pages and register for some of this program. And sure, we are going to bring Mami Sewa here. As you guys know, this platform has been running for the last 3 years, and we've brought so many great leaders, great speakers to share their lessons. Go to our YouTube channel. You'll have all these videos there. They're all there for free. Please learn as much as you can. Very soon, we are going to get Papa to give us his closing thoughts, because I think we have learned enough. So, Papa, at this point, I'm going to ask you to give us your final closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Sam, for this opportunity. I'm humbled being here, and there's a lot that I have learned in leadership. I continue to learn. I'm learning just as these questions were even coming through. I was blessed to be a part of Toastmasters, and I'm also blessed to be a Rotarian, and I've learned a lot from these 2 organizations. And the learning comes most from the practice. So the more you practice, the more you engage, the more you try your hands out on leadership, the better you get. But there's some key myths that I need to dispel, and I hope that as we walk in, we think about them. The first one is a position doesn't automatically make you a leader. It's a big setup. And as a matter of fact, when you rely on positions, what they do is they set you up for others to come for your throat. And if you're not ready, you'll be found wanting. However, when you build leadership without a title, you're more likely to be successful. And by the time you're given a title, you are worth holding on to it. So that's one of the key things. The second thing is one of the key areas where leadership is suffering is middle management. Because a lot of times you have the top leaders when it comes to corporate organizations, and you have the ones at the bottom who are not connecting. And middle management sometimes doesn't know how to, 1, lead their bosses, and 2, pull along those down. And these are areas that people need to explore. Finally, I believe that, these 7 layers are based on my observation, my research. And so please explore them, try them out, and I hope that they help you. And by all means, I'll be more than happy to engage, explore, discuss as we go along. But like I said, this is only tip 1 of the book that is coming out. We have 29 other very interesting tips. Today, the person who's working on publishing the book for me sent me a message, and her words were that there was one particular tip that jumped at her and she needed it, right? So maybe this tip 1 is not even the most important tip that's for you. Look out for the book, and you may have a tip there that may change your life. Let's continue to grow. Let's continue to build leaders. Let's build a culture of leadership in Ghana. And I believe that all our problems will be a thing of the past. Thank you so much.
Thank
you, Sam, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Papa. Thank you so much. And I noticed your passion when I asked Papa, all right, Papa, so when can you be? He says, I'm ready. I say, okay, we want to talk about the topic. He says, I know it's ready. And thank you so much, Papa. This has been great. And we're like all other great speakers, we are going to bring you back sometime again to share more of some of these tips with us. So thank you so much, Papa. God bless you. And on that note, I want to encourage all of you. Leadership is the cause. All the problems that we see around us, the cause is leadership. All the developments that we see around us, the cause is leadership. So let us learn the principles of leadership. Let us develop ourselves. As Papa says, doing is what gives you more leadership. So when you've learned all these things, we encourage you to go and try your hands on other things in your church, in your family, in your organization. You can lead from everywhere. And Papa talks about middle leadership. John Maxwell has the book 360-Degree Leadership. that will help you to learn to lead from anywhere you find yourself. On that note, I want to thank all of you for making it tonight. Until next week, when we bring you another leader with a great story and a great lesson. This has been the Leadership Platform powered by CTL Africa. Go to our pages and learn more about leadership. God bless you and see you tomorrow, Sunday. Let's find a place for God, go to church and serve as we've been taught. God bless you. Have a good night.
There is a popular saying in leadership that if you think you're leading and there's nobody following you, you are only going on a walk. On this platform, you are going to learn principles of leadership. You are going to encounter different leaders. You are going to learn about how you can grow as a leader, how you can make an impact. My name is Samuel Eyim, and I'm the host for the Leadership Platform. I am a leadership coach, a lawyer by profession, a John C. Maxwell certified coach. I have been in corporate life in senior positions for several years, and now I run the Center for Transformational Leadership, where we train and coach leaders to become better leaders. And I invite you to go on a journey with us as we discuss the subject of leadership in the coming weeks.
This and every Saturday, you have opportunity to ask questions, share your views on important leadership matters.